Hello gamers, Aaron Shack here with the Marvel's Avengers weekly marketplace breakdown. For people playing on PlayStation here, it is March 10th, 2022. You will see the Spider-Man Far From Home stealth outfit. But for those of you on non-PlayStation platforms, you will see the Avengers Age of Ultron Black Widow outfit from the MCU movie. That outfit will be available for PlayStation players next week. So since I'm on PlayStation here, you'll once again just kind of get to check out the stealth suit here. They both look really cool, and we'll definitely do full coverage on that next week as well. They all look great though. So yeah, here's our stealth outfit. This looks really cool. A little bit of hand-to-hand from Iron Man. Of course, last week, the Nothing to Fear outfit premiered, and this actually glows during combat, so it lights up even more. Thought You Got Away. There's a little Kate Bishop one. That is really cool. Fast-paced teleportation. I think I'm gonna have to get that one. There's Spider-Man's Need Some Personal Space. Hawkeye Ultimate. So not too much new in terms of just like cosmetic stuff here. Won't Strike Twice. This is a really good takedown for Thor. I like that. Of course, the Future Guardian outfit for Miss Marvel. There's the Thor Asgardian, a very classic Thor looking outfit. And then grab your Fragment Extractor for 2 hours. That is free of charge there. So once again, the Cosmic Threat event is continuing. This is week 2 of that. So you can get lots of really cool gear, exotic gear, Tachyon Surge Gear, hero-specific animated nameplates. Of course, you can keep grinding for the ultimate casual outfit for Captain America. And I'm going to take us into the game to look at a few things while we talk about some other changes here. So they are looking at buffing melee gear and some heroics because they've kind of sort of noticed that pretty much when we're playing this game, a lot of people are doing mostly ranged builds because that's what's most viable during boss fights and raids and stuff like that. It's just like if you're in there up close doing melee damage, there's greater risk for you to get downed or defeated. And there's apparently not enough of a damage benefit for melee players, which I think, like, Cap and Black Widow are so much fun to play as melee characters. I feel like Black Panther is also, like, just in my opinion, like, a melee character. Like, I'm not a fan of just throwing daggers around as Black Panther. Okay, and then what we have here today in Chastity McBride's store, there's a Titanium for Miss Marvel, pretty cool one. There's Brimstone for Thor. There's Cat Eye. Kate Bishop there. And then Bull Rider for Hawkeye. Can't believe that's a thing. But yeah. Some of the things they're going to do is a blanket update to many perks related to melee combat. These updates will include general Percentage increases from perks, buff duration increases, adding status attack types to signature attacks. For Kate Bishop and Miss Marvel, this by no means the full extent of the changes. And take steps to add in other melee-focused perks and features. So that's all very exciting. I'm actually really happy about that. Also, the comic adjustments. They made some changes to the comics in-game, and I know a lot of players kind of had complaints about that because that was how they had the most overpowered builds. But it was very important because there was pretty much some comics that could make it to where you were like basically invincible, and that just kind of defeats the purpose of the game, more or less. Like if there's no chance of you reaching a fail state, is the game really engaging, or is there any sense of difficulty if you're just easily able to win every encounter? So they're going to introduce defensive perks, which will be a way of making melee combat less risky. Comics allow players to passively have comparable armor to those who sacrifice DPS for perks and stats dedicated to the defense. Not only reduce the need for builds, but as builds require trade-off that comics do not have, but are also diminished any value of the new perks provide. So it really was important that they make those changes to the comics, because it think of it like an exploit that just destabilized the game and allowed players to essentially cheat, I would say, would almost be the word that's appropriate here. Even though it's something that's available in-game, and I guess anything the developers give you in-game is technically not a cheat, but, you know, this definitely seems that way. They're also going to have several sources of hero gear, including the last Avengers standing. Status effects, stats overall have been added or adjusted. The addition of might to the heroic slot's possible attributes. And they'll be looking over the comic buffs and making little changes over time. So some adjustments to damage buff. They're going to have a damage increase of 65% to all attacks, including heroic attacks. There is very little in the game that can meet this level of damage increase. The second is increased critical chance while active. Damage buff also applies its bonus to critical damage, which results in larger damage spikes from the bonus critical chance increase. Together, they do the job of several attributes in vast numbers. This becomes a feedback loop as the most damage buff perks activate on critical hits. This means that once a damage buff is active, keeping it going becomes a passive effect of the buff itself. So that's pretty exciting. The last is a high chance of staggering the enemy with any attack, which results from increased impact buffing the damage of attacks while the damage buff is active. This makes some skills and perks obsolete, as any light attack or volleyed ranged attack could stagger even the largest of enemies. This makes damage buff one of the best defensive tools, because causing your enemy to attack less means you need less armor. These aspects made damage buff a no-brainer because of raw output, self-sustainment, and practical survivability. It's one reason that many players repeat area of effect or range attacks with it active to get all the benefits of heavier attacks without the risk of getting hit, which is why people were avoiding melee combat. To that end, the current plan to remove critical chance and impact from damage buff, 65% damage increase, will remain, and the duration will not be changed. The Norn Stone of Lethal Will's buff, as seen here, which stacks with damage buff, will retain its impact increasing mechanic, but will no longer add a flat 35% critical chance to all attacks. This gives the Nornstone unique capability when compared to its standard counterpart. The damage buff from the Nornstone of Lethal Will has been increased from 35 to 45%, and its duration will be increased by 2 seconds. Passive critical hit increase from the Nornstone will also increase from 5% to 10%. That means that with both buffs active, players will be able to see a 105% increase in overall damage, but to sustain the buffs like before, they will need to build into proficiency and critical chance. So that's going to make people kind of reconsider builds and create builds in a different way. I think that's all very exciting. I know we're talking about a lot of changes, a lot of percentages. If you didn't get any of that, just kind of go back and re-listen to the video here in that sense. I'm also going to link, I'm going to drop a link to this post from March 4th, because I know last week we were trying to see what some of these gear changes were going to be, and it's quite a bit of stuff. It's a little lengthy for our typical video here, but basically it's talking about the set gear focuses. It's talking about the locations and different game types you will have to play in order to get various gear for certain characters. It's talked about how they've renamed certain perks that's on gear. And it basically goes through each of these gear sets for some of the players that they made changes for. Of course, objectives here. You can see all your typical villain sectors. But they're also going to be adding a weekly villain sector that will be an elite villain sector. Of course, you'll still have all your cosmic threat stuff to go through this week. If you haven't done that yet, you can run through that on each of your characters. There's, of course, the event chain there. And this is a really good chance to get some exotic gear that's going to do cosmic damage. So the idea here is to sort of get players playing the villain sectors on a daily basis and then jumping into the elite villain sector mission chain once a week. And then you'll be able to get this set. They're going to call it the classic power set. For certain characters, it's going to have, looks like it's going to have some different names. Yeah, technical power set, all these different names for each character. So I have links to that in the description down below if you want like a deeper dive into like how gear's going to change, how some of the stats are going to change. It's very exciting. It's a bunch of stuff that the game certainly needed. But we're still waiting to see that March update where hopefully we'll see more stability in stuff like the raid and OLTs. Be able to maybe join session in progress, please. I mean, like that's the biggest hurdle for me and my team with preventing the raid. It seems like someone always gets kicked, disconnected, or the game crashes, and then we're unable to continue moving forward. So once again, I want to thank you gamers for watching. Like this video so it gets out to more people in the community. It definitely helps my videos get out there and, you know, allows me to get through that YouTube algorithm and get my videos out to more people. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single video, including our weekly Avengers breakdown, our live streams of this game on Thursday nights, and the Shackcast podcast. So once again, I want to thank you for watching and listening, and we will see you on the next video. Take care.